What secret codes are all around us that only people in the know recognize? At the mall, they taught us to use Nora if someone was being belligerent, and we needed to get the cops in here. Nora equals need officer right away. For example, if a guy was at the counter screaming and cursing, threatening us, but we couldn't escape, he won't leave and we felt unsafe, we'd ask him to hold while I called a manager. Then I'd get the phone, call the police station in the mall, legit cops, not mall cops, and say something like, "Hi Nora, this is so and so calling. I have a customer issue I was hoping you can help with." Then hang up and announce the manager was on the way. Cops showed up instead. In Indonesia, whenever you're dealing with anyone working in the government, police officers, custom officers, airport security, etc., when they start talking about how strict the rules are or how they need to meet some sort of quota, that means they're expecting a big bribe. I tend to play dumb and go, "Oh, okay then. I guess I'll just have to throw this thing out / go to court / not bother getting this document." It's fun watching them panic and try to find a subtle way of asking for a bribe without saying they want a bribe. What do they do? How do they go about saying it? They'll usually say something like, "But I really want to help you." Really want to? Court is no place for a girl. It's really dirty and you won't want to go there. The fine you'd end up paying will be more expensive than if we just settle it here. Look, I normally don't do this, but you remind me of my daughter / you seem like a nice kid. Any other excuse to make it seem like I'm a special case, so I'm going to help you out. But give me something to make it worth my risk, okay? Few years ago, I worked as a nightclub bouncer so I could make some extra cash. The code for all security to the dance floor because shit is erupting / riot imminent was for the DJ to play Usher Yeah. Noticeable because it was an EDM club that had a bad reputation for fighting, and the song was so obviously out of place we'd all be alerted. To this day I can't hear the song without getting a surge of adrenaline and getting ready to brawl for my life. 437,737 mean serpies in online dating. I saw a profile of a girl saying she has 437,737 cats, and thought I'm sure that number has some significance. Apparently if a person puts that number in their profile, it means they have herpes and they want to let people know without getting embarrassed. Comcast has an awesome one. If you call the cancellation line and say, "I would like to cancel my account," they will offer you premium channels and shit for free. DirecTV used to be good about this too, until the AT&T buyout. I told them I was going to cancel unless they could help me with a bill, which had worked a couple times before. They called my bluff. I cancelled my service. Now they want to give me a year for free, and I'm just like, nah, duck you guys on principle alone. They call me like every week, and keep sending me mail/emails. You ducked up DirecTV. When I worked at a supermarket many years ago, we had code 12 which was called on the speakers if they saw a very attractive person in the store. The code would also say where so, for example code 12 bread. We had a code for either X, just can't remember the other one. Kitchens and food service places will often have a code for this. At one pizza place I worked for, it was pans to the line. In another pizza place, it was hot fries, coming out. We didn't sell fries. We had walkie-talkies with earpieces at my retail job. During my first few weeks on the job, a really hot woman came in, and I radioed, "Hey, we got a 10 in here." The managers come sprinting out of the back and are panicking. Turned out code 10 was a shoplifter. Nobody told me that. I used to work in a camera store as the repairs manager, and I implemented a system where if a customer was an asshole we'd write DBC in red ink on the top of their invoice. We'd tell them it meant deliver by courier, because we shipped our repairs out to various places, but it actually meant douchebag customer, and was there to give the person at the front a heads up that they were about to deal with a troublemaker. I was once on a cruise ship, and there was an announcement on the tannoy for the crew, Starlight. Starlight. Some were visibly shaken and it caused quite a bit of upset. Later discovered that was code for elderly passenger has died. The QEII had a small onboard mortuary. K18. K18s exist all around us nowadays. From simple personal annoyances to world-changing events, K18s have been the source of more fallout in my lifetime than any single other code I can think of, and most people don't know what it is. K18 is a tech support error code for a mistake which occurs roughly 18 inches from the keyboard. In EMS, saying that someone has a house in Virginia, or giving someone a high five on the way in the door is a way of letting the other responders know that the patient is a bloodborne pathogen risk, that is HIV positive. Edit. A lot of people are shit talking me for perpetuating a bias against people with HIV. What they're not realizing is that we're not in a hospital room. We're on public. Most patients don't want us announcing to the public that they have HIV or HEP or anything like that. We're also legally obligated to not share that information to the public. Apparently protecting patient privacy isn't important here. HIPAA anyone? When dealing with the Japanese, that will be very difficult, means no. When dealing with Saudis, God willing means, yeah, probably not gonna do that. When dealing with the English, I'll bear it in mind, means I've forgotten / I'm not doing it. You should come over sometime. I will forget this conversation as soon as I turn away, and I suggest you do the same. As a Brit, I had to explain this to a very happy Canadian once. On a cruise ship I was on, there was a meeting on the schedule for Friends of Bill, which is code for Alcoholics Anonymous. Also, Friends of Dorothy, which is gay lesbian. The Jeep wave. I rode in a Jeep for the first time a few weeks ago, and got waved at a few times before I asked what was going on. My wife's Mini Cooper actually has instructions printed in the owner's manual that you are to wave at all other Mini Coopers. Naturally, one of our hobbies is mocking people who wave at us when we're in her car. Graffiti is its own language to gangs. There are ways to even politely correct whose turf it is without going to war. Gangs will even post rosters of who is in their clique, who they are, what area they claim to own, what their business are, etc. Edit. Some examples in my local area, California. NX True. Some gangs graffiti is a polite way to correct someone if they incorrectly claim turf. No general hostility is implied, just means, hey, this area is ours, back off. If a graffiti is circled, then an X is put over it with another gang's writing to the side of it. It means that, this is our turf, and we are keeping it that way. It has a little hostility behind it. This could also mean they are willing to brawl over it. This may only apply to California, but a 187 spray painted over gang graffiti, 187 being the California code for a homicide, it means war. Please note gang graffiti changes constantly, and this can be regional. What something may mean one day, may not be what it means another day. In my office, when someone announces, "You're right here," that means somebody unidentified has just walked in. It's a closed, private office with no receptionist or public coming and going. If it's nobody we're expecting, it sounds better than, somebody just walked in the door. If you hear waiters and waitresses talking about Canadians, in the South, they mean black people. Also, if you hear them say they are in the weeds, it means they are so busy they barely know what the duck is going on and need help. A few years ago, I went to pick up a large pizza from Marco's in Michigan, and the cashier asked, "Would you like that cut with a clean knife?" And I was like, "What the duck?" She looked super frightened and rushed the order after that. Was that a code? When a motorcycle taps his helmet, it means cops up ahead. When a car gives you two quick flashes, it means speed trap ahead. Sometimes it means put your ducking lights on, it's raining. Or really anything else the driver wants to get your attention about. I've seen it as your brights are on, dumbass, cops ahead, traffic jam, crashed vehicles, and just a general slowdown. There's the male nod code. I asked a guy what was up with it once, and he explained it like this: down is a nod of respect, either to acknowledge doing something the nodder approves of, or it denotes a more professional/business only relationship. A nod up is more contextual. If the men know each other, the upward nod is like, "Hey, what's up? I acknowledge that we know each other, but have nothing to say right now, and or I'm in a hurry/busy." An upward nod can also be disrespectful and aggressive in ways I don't quite grasp, I guess as a display of dominance? Not easy to understand as an outside observer. Your driver's license number. In many states in the US, your driver's license number is an algorithm based on your name and date of birth. These days, the licensing system generates the number when a new application is created, but back in the day, they were configured manually by the licensing clerk processing the transaction. I worked for my state's DMV for 8 years, and I knew a couple of old timers who could look at a random name and DOB and rattle off the corresponding license number. I never got that good, but I did get to the point that I could look at certain license numbers and tell you the first and last name. Edit. Yes, I know more about how the coding works than I explained. That's because, while I appreciate Reddit's intellectual curiosity, I also appreciate that it's the small details in systems like this one that are effective at stopping those with ill intent from doing very bad things with information like how to generate valid driver's license numbers in your basement. Also, as I mentioned, this is a state-by-state thing. Some states use the same coding system, Michigan and Maryland, for example, but for the most part, one state's algorithm will produce a very different result from the system used by the next state over. When you're at a grocery store and you hear 21 on 9, it means the employee at checkout counter 9 is under 21 years, and they need someone over 21 to sell the customer liquor. Live in Illinois, still hear it call out today. Transportation of dangerous goods labels on tanker trucks, aka UN numbers. 1202 is diesel, 1203 is gasoline, 1075 is propane, 1267 is crude, 1993 is anything flammable. I was driving behind a truck on the highway the other day and didn't recognize 2448, molten sulfur. Not so much anymore. But back when everyone had to be secretive about being gay, there were all kinds of signs and signals. My uncle says he kind of misses those days, because it was all like a tightly knit secret club that was strongly bonded because of the mutual mortal terror of HIV/AIDS when it first appeared. Those little numbers and letters all over your electronics actually mean useful things. A programmer can use that information to, well, program your electronics. Or even debug them, if it's worth it. Although these days people usually just buy something new. The info is there though, if you want to try fixing it instead. Common examples would be the hobo symbols and things like code white, being a kidnapping at Walmart. Wearing my Walmart badge right now. On the back of it are all the codes. Here are all of them, and the mnemonics I use to remember them. White, accident. Blue, bomb, Mega Man's nickname. Red, fire, Pokemon Gen 1 remake. Black, weather, Storm from X-Men. Green, hostage. Orange, chemical, those orange biohazard bins. Adam, missing child, like in Bioshock. Oh my god, I know who Adam Walsh is. Brown, shooting situation. I got nothing. Good job avoiding skin color jokes, guys. I'm proud of you. If you're in the know, you can tell a lot about homes, businesses, and other commodes based on the plants growing outside if you can identify them. For example, if I see a large patch of dollarweed growing somewhere, I know that spot is getting too much water. I can also tell from the weeds which weed killer, or none, are being used. Then there's certain plants that indicate, shall we say, some places where you could obtain some less than legal goods or services. For example, if you notice lots of Sarracenia surrounding someone's yard or garage, it might be safe to assume that location is trying to deal with a fly problem. What activity could be taking place in a suburban neighborhood that would attract that many flies? Could be a whole bunch of things, but none of them are common, and many are nefarious. Of course, certain plants emit smells as well. If you know those smells you can find things. For example, this past summer while walking through my neighborhood, I detected a faint scent of decaying citrus. This led my nose to a horribly neglected lemon tree growing outside a vacant property. Cleaned my garbage disposal and made it smell nice, haha.